Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 1st of December 2013, and it's the first of a new month, but, well, since it's a Sunday, this is going to be the recap show of all the different bits of news during the week. First of all, we will have the patch 5.4.2 Karazhan revamp sort of speculation thing, then the new pet and mount, the Undead female model, Ghostcrawler leaving Blizzard, the 5.4.2 store, and then I'll have a talk about my video schedule for the next week. So first of all, 5.4.2 Karazhan. Well, first of all, we saw a new phase added as a string, and it was called Karazhan Restoration. Now that was later renamed to Karazhan, or not Karazhan, Medivh's Big Birthday Bash. Now that, to me, if there is going to be a thing called Medivh's Big Birthday Bash, it's probably going to be a bit whimsical. Honestly, I can't see that being an ultra serious thing, so it's a little bit bizarre in that regard. Perhaps that could just be thrown in to mess with data miners. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but yeah, in general, there is definitely a phase in Karazhan where a whole bunch of things like cobwebs and stuff have been removed. I think that was later changed, so there wasn't as many cobwebs and things removed or something like that, but there were still changes, and this definitely indicates that they're at least doing some early work in Karazhan. Now, why they're pushing that out to the PTR, I don't know, because there's not really anything to show, and it's there listed as being a patch 5.4.2 thing, so perhaps in 5.4.2 we're getting some stuff. Now, if there is a significant amount of content, why is it not in patch 5.5? Well, if it was only this Karazhan thing, maybe they don't think it's worthy of its own patch, like its own big patch, I guess. It's hard to know, but at any rate it could be interesting. A lot of people have speculated that the sort of strange time and dimension properties of the Tower of Karazhan are involved with Garrosh's escape to Draenor. That's definitely possible. And if so, well, maybe there could be some interesting lore there. Perhaps Medivh comes back. He's not dead. He, after he sort of was through with the whole Cigaris thing when he was killed, he later turned into a good guy in Warcraft 3. So yeah, I mean, perhaps there's interesting stuff going on there. Next we have the new pet and mount. These are the Enchanted Fey Dragon and the Alteric Brewpup. Now you've probably seen both of these actually quite a lot in my videos this week. I just really haven't had a great deal of time to play the game, so the only time I have played the game has been with Fraps on, and I've been pet battling with the Brewpup, and it's a great little pet. It's £8 or $10, and half of that goes to charity. The Fey Dragon is, I think, $25 or like £20 or something, and you can get a bundle. I think you buy the two of them, and it's like $5, that equivalent off. They're both kind of cool. Is it worth the money? Well, things like this, it's about, is it worth the money to you? If you want to perhaps get a bit of a better idea, I have a sort of semi-review video on these two, so that should help you make a better purchasing decision. Next up we have the Undead female model. This was added, well, it was shown off in an interview like near the start of the week, and I suppose it's pretty cool. I've never really been one for the Undead females, or just the Undead males, or whatever. Never really a fan of the Undead, I suppose. But, I mean, yeah, it seems like it's done a decent job of keeping the same feel of the original, but it's higher fidelity. I think especially the faces kind of look different, and the hair, some of the Undead hair looked really bad, so I suppose now it looks a little bit less bad. So yeah, I mean, it's all good. Let me know what you think of this, if you do play an Undead character. Now next, we have Ghostcrawler leaving Blizzard. This is big. Well, quite big. Ghostcrawler has been the face of the game for, well, in terms of balance and systems and that kind of thing, he's been the face of the game for maybe 5 years. It was really since the Wrath of the Lich King beta that he started posting, and he headed up the systems team that was really responsible for things like class balance, UI, putting in new game systems, a lot of gameplay. He essentially was the overseer of half the game. He wasn't like the supreme kind of overseer guy of the whole game, but you know, he did have maybe the sort of main director guy ahead of him, but for a lot of elements, Ghostcrawler's team headed up a lot of stuff. So what does this mean, him leaving? Well, I don't think it really means that much, actually. Like, it's mostly the work of the team that sort of all reported to him, so those people are all really the same. It's just him moving on to another job. He said that there's an opportunity, and he's made the hard decision to go and take that opportunity somewhere else, so it's not in Blizzard. In terms of what he used to do, he was the game designer guy for Age of Empires. I think he was the main guy for 3, and he was quite high up for Age of Empires 2. And then before that, he graduated with, I think it was a PhD in marine biology, so interesting guy. It'll be cool to see where he goes next. In terms of what he brought to the game, Well, I suppose a lot of people are going to say class homogenization. He was very influential on actually balancing the different classes. It used to be that every single class in spec, really, it had its own niche, and it was kind of bad outside that. For an example, there used to be some specs which were really intended for PvP, and some that were intended for PvE. Now, what he has done is he's made the classes, okay, there's a little bit more homogenization, and definitely a lot of things are, I'd say, more balanced than they ever have been, and that is true. Like, I even remember playing in Wrath, the class balance, like right now there's people complaining over 5-10%. No, it used to be like 30%, and even before that there was times where you just couldn't play a spec. I remember raiding ICC, you could not be a Beast Mastery Hunter. You just couldn't. You were doing like half the damage. So, in a lot of ways, I think he's brought about a very stable and balanced endgame, and because of that, I suppose they can really, instead of relying on the mechanics of some classes for boss encounters, they can now focus on making really interesting boss fights that apply to everyone. So instead of, oh, you need a warlock to do this or whatever, no, it'll work for a bunch of classes. Now, a lot of those very specific boss fight encounter mechanic thingies are going to be there in Mythic, because in Mythic they can assume that there's one of every class. So if you do really want that hardcore experience, it will be there in Mythic difficulty. But right now, for normal and stuff, I think Ghostcrawler's legacy will carry on. Still, I think overall it's probably a net positive. The only thing which I would take issue with is some of the PvP spec stuff. Now, I know that, like, it's nice to have every class to have 3 different specs, and most of them can be used for PvP, but the problem with that is if there's a spec that needs to do both, then the PvE balance can be to the detriment of PvP balance and vice versa, and that is a big issue, and it's an issue that's really plagued the game for years, especially when they started to make it so that a class could be both PvE and PvP. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag. Overall, I think Ghostcrawler did a really good job with the game. He sort of spearheaded a lot of initiatives that I suppose have probably been for the net benefit. I'd say net benefit, so yeah, I mean, whatever, he's gone. His new replacement is not announced, but for all intents and purposes, I nearly caught myself saying that phrase wrong again. But yes, you want to contact Celestian if you have any PvE questions, and Halinka if you have any PvP questions. And finally, for today's news, we have the 5.4.2 store. This is currently on the PTR. You've seen it multiple times throughout the week, and essentially you can buy mounts, pets, and consumables there. I don't know what it is about prices or anything like that, but you buy the things, and they pop up in your bag, and it's very convenient. That's essentially all this is at the minute. Now, in patch 5.4, they were selling an XP boost, which they're currently selling on it as well, but they also sold a pack of 50 Lesser Charms of Fortune. They are not in the patch 5.4.2 PTR version, but yeah, we don't actually know if this is going to be coming to the West. We know it's going to be a thing in Korea and Asia and just sort of general. That area, because of the business model, the game is there, but over here it's a different business model with a subscription and all that, and Blizzard have been very keen in saying they won't be selling like ultra gameplay altering or balance altering things on a store. That makes sense. They even have recently said that World of Warcraft will not go free to play because the game will not work in free to play. So I think that's all good news. Now that all that's done, let's talk about my my video schedule for the next week. First of all, there's the lore on the Draenei. I've covered all the Orc Warlords, so we're going to move on to the Draenei. That's stuff like Velen, Marode. If I can find things about Yril, that's what I think she's called, by the way. I heard Noble pronounce her. If I can find any interesting lore in her, I'll try to do a video, but honestly, I think that's going to be something that'll happen during the expansion because we just don't know a lot about her character yet. So there's that. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 dungeons for lore. I'm not sure. It just depends on schedule. And then the Q&A as always. Also, there's a good chance I'll do the heroic solo edited videos. I only put out 2 or 3 of them previously, but essentially I take a heroic run of an instance, and then I will give you the full, like every boss fight, and some voiceover just to explain how you can solo these boss fights. Like, soloing heroics, I suppose it's just a bit of fun. It's not really something that's ultra lucrative or anything like that. Now, the next thing I'll probably do is a hardware video. Now, this won't be a camera thing because I don't have a good camera, but I will be getting SLI 670s. Well, I'll be getting my second 670, which is nice because it gives my computer performance in most games of roughly equal to or above a 780 Ti, so That'll be nice. I'll probably do a Northrend video on that. Also, I'll be doing a number of other upgrades, getting a 3TB hard drive, a second SSD. Just lots of things for video editing and the whole YouTube channel stuff, so maybe I'll do a video log Northrend thingy about that. I think it could work, could be a bit of fun. I know a lot of people are interested in the computer I have because I get asked it quite a bit, so that could be fun. Of course, WoW Daily as always, and finally, I would love to do PvP, but I'm really busy and I probably won't have time to gear up my warrior before I get off on the 20th of December, because this is the kind of crunch period at the end of the university year where all the projects are due in. We have this massive XNA, C# game programming thing, and then we have a Java networks thing, in which we essentially have to write MSN Messenger, which is not fun. So yeah, nostalgia trip, but not really one that I want to have. Anyway, that's it for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.